Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and I am so excited because it is time, finally, for Jujutsu Kaisen 0. I have waited a solid year and a half for this. At least a solid year. It came out in 2021. I started watching Jujutsu Kaisen on this channel back in late 2020, early 2021, in anticipation for this movie. But I don't live near any theaters that would play it, and so I knew I was going to wait till streaming, and it has been a long and arduous wait. But it's finally here. I got off work and was like, no, I'm dressing up, I'm watching it, I poured myself a beverage, we're ready to go. I honestly have not watched Jujutsu Kaisen much since I finished it on this channel, but I love the series. I love the characters, the action. It's probably one of the better shonen that I've watched in a long time, and I really, really am excited for season 2 that will hopefully be coming out next year. So this is a nice little caveat until next year when we get that. So I feel fine dressing up as Nobara because I doubt she's going to be in this movie. I know nothing about this film except for a few tiny things. One thing that I do know is that it is based on Volume 0, which is a prequel to the Jujutsu Kaisen series, so I'm assuming it takes place in the past. So I don't think we're going to see Yuji or Nobara or Megumi in this. I don't think we're going to see any of those three. I don't think we'll see the recent cast, but I don't know how far back in the past we're going. I don't know how far back we're going with Gojo, if we're going to see Nanami. I don't know how far back we're going with any of those characters. Maybe we'll see Panda, because Panda seems... I don't know how old Panda is exactly, so I can't remember that from the series, but maybe we'll see him. But I don't know how far we're going back. If we're going to see anything with Geto. I know Geto and Gojo have a history. If we're going to touch base on that, I don't know. The key visual that came out for season 2 showed a younger Geto and a younger Gojo, and the younger girl, I think she's the one with the eye bags. It's the Undertaker, kind of the one that does the autopsies. I think that all three of them were in school together, apparently. But that's all I know about season 2. That's pretty much it, because I'm anime only, so I don't want any spoilers. In the comments down below, please no spoilers. If you're going to spoil anything, please comment tag so that I don't read it, but I am anime only with Jujutsu Kaisen. I know nothing about the series as far as the manga goes. I don't keep up with any of those spoilers because I want to watch the series anime only as it comes out, so that's exciting. But I only know that this takes place before the main series, and I know that there's a character named Yuuta, and Yuuta is voiced by Megumi Ogata, and I know that that individual voices Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I'm currently watching. So I was like, okay, Shinji's voice actress is playing a character in this that looks kind of like Shinji. Looks a little bit like Shinji, so that's curious. So that's really cool. I also found out today that she also voices Hanako-kun from Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. So I'm like, and I went back and watched Toilet Bound Hanako-kun today and was like, that's basically Shinji Ikari's voice. So that was really exciting. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to get into this movie. No idea what it entails. I have stayed spoiler-free for over a year. I have been very good. I have been very diligent and muted everything on Twitter. I have avoided every possible spoiler. I watched like the teaser trailer back like a year ago before the movie actually came out. I don't remember anything from it except Yuuta was in it. That's pretty much it. I have been very, very good about spoilers because I knew that I was going to enjoy this movie and I wanted it to be the best experience possible, and so here we are. So I have stayed off Twitter all day today. I knew the movie was coming out today and I was like, I'm not really getting on Twitter. I maybe got on there like twice to check something, but I did not scroll the feed. Didn't do any of that. No, I was going to be a good person. So here we are. But yeah, y'all, I'm so excited. I can't wait. So we're not going to waste any more time. We'll talk about this movie after we're over with. It's through Crunchyroll, so I'll be able to go back through it. But let's not waste any more time, shall we? I can't believe it's here. So we are going to start Jujutsu Kaisen Movie 0. It's just called Movie on Crunchyroll. Why not? And we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. That was wonderful. That was worth the wait. I have questions now for season 2. There are things that have added up. We got Geto's agenda. Questions about Geto. Now, as I'm about to talk about these things, there's 2 things I want to note. One, I am anime only, and I'm going to be watching season 2. So, as I theory craft on Whiteboard Kun, I haven't brought out Whiteboard Kun for Jujutsu Kaisen, so it's a fun time. But as I discuss on Whiteboard Kun, I don't want in the comments people being like, oh, don't worry, they'll explain that in season 2, or don't worry, this is all means this. I don't want spoilers. I don't want hints. I don't want clues. I'll figure it out as I go. So if you're going to comment with spoilers, spoiler tag it so y'all can talk amongst yourselves, and I won't be able to read it. But otherwise, just humor me. Snicker behind your drink glasses and go, Romania doesn't even know. But please don't spoil me or tell me any context. That's all I ask. But I have questions now for season 2, now that we've watched this movie that has basically set up a lot of things that's really interesting, especially about Yuuta. But also the second thing is, the first 10 minutes of this movie, it's not just because the voice actress of Shinji from Neon Genesis is voicing Yuuta, but there were so many comparisons to Neon Genesis that I was like, just wait. I was just like, I kept wanting to talk about them because I was like, no, that's Neon Genesis. That's Neon Genesis. So if you are not someone that watches Neon Genesis, or if you don't want spoilers, I'm probably going to do like a Neon Genesis corner. I don't know what else to do other than just to talk about it. So I don't want to spoil for Neon Genesis. I don't, but God, there's so many things that connect that series. All I'll do is just vaguely talk about them. I'm going to make vague references to things that have come up in Neon Genesis. I won't spoil y'all on any plot details, but I will just say random items and things that have popped up in this movie that will tie to Neon Genesis. And y'all, if you want to go watch the series and look it up, you can, but we're going to put that over here. We're going to have up here the Neon Genesis corner, and we're just going to put that right here. All right, so if you don't want to listen to that, or just kind of don't worry about this over here. So we got that. I do have questions about season 2. So we're gonna put season 2 questions over here, because now I have season 2 questions. We'll tie back to that last scene there, okay? Gojo seemed pretty interested in the one guy, Miguel. We'll talk about Miguel. So at the very end, we might as well just go ahead and talk about it. At the very end, we have Yuuta and Miguel, and we see the sword that is sheathed, that I'm assuming is Yuta's, because I think in season 1 there was a shot of Yuuta. He's been on a quest, right? Gojo sent him on a mission, right? And Yuta's been on that mission, and so, and he had the sword with him that was all wrapped up. So I think that's Yuta's sword. So we went to go find Miguel, and then Gojo meets them. So my theory was that Gojo is trying to gather intel from all of the cult members that Geto had collected, and was trying to figure out what Geto's agenda was and what he's been trying to do and kind of where they're standing now that Geto's gone, supposedly. But here's the thing. This is what's interesting. It seemed like Miguel was no longer in that little flashback at the end. And I say it's a flashback because I think that the end of this movie still occurs, the post-credit scene still occurs before the actual series, right? So we want to make note, here in the middle, that this movie is 1 year before Jujutsu Kaisen season 1. Right? And they mentioned the parade of 100 demons. They mentioned that in season 1. That all makes sense now. They talked about that, and that was the example of Geto. They're like, oh, there was the night parade of 1,000 demons or whatever. And it was like, oh, okay. That all makes sense. But Yuuta and Miguel, when Gojo met them, it didn't look like there was any hostility towards Yuuta and Miguel, which Yuuta didn't really know him except for seeing them that one time when they showed up in the Pelican Demon to go see them. So the question is, Gojo supposedly killed Geto, but Geto survived, right? And I said it in the reaction, but Geto in season 1, he had like the Frankenstein cut along his head, like he sewed himself back together. So somehow he was able to survive, somehow. I don't know if he was able to maybe use one of the curses that he had inside of him to save him at the last minute. I don't know. He seemed to have like a special grade inside of him because he brought out that doll-looking one. And so, I mean, who's to say he didn't have another special grade inside of him that could heal him, right? But Gojo supposedly killed Geto, but Geto survived. But then he went... Because here's the thing, before, he wasn't really working with curses. He was working with other sorcerers, right? Other curse users. So he went from working... He's no longer working with curse users, but instead now working with curses themselves in season 1. Because he's with Mahito. And we'll put Mahito right there. So I'm wondering... if whenever he saved himself, if somehow Geto saved himself, however that managed to happen, he stopped working with the other curse users and just went straight to the curses, right? So maybe what Gojo and Yuuta are trying to do is to track down the members of Geto's cult and be like, hey, what's up? Can you give us any leads on if Geto's still alive or not, right? Because that's what's suspect. They suspect that Geto's still alive, but they're not exactly sure how or why or what his MO is now. So maybe that's what maybe Yuuta and Gojo are investigating that. And the thing of it is that Yuuta, so other questions is Yuuta and Riku and Rika-chan. Rika, not Riku. Yuuta and Rika. So, and his sword. So he basically was able to free her at the end from her curse. But she did make the comment they would stay together forever. So maybe she comes back on her own volition and she's like, either she comes back to imbue herself into Yuta's sword because she chooses to stay with him even after he set her free. Kind of like, it's like the genie in Aladdin 2, where Aladdin sets the genie free at the end of Aladdin, and then in Aladdin 2, Genie's like, well, I came back because I didn't have anything else to do. Maybe Rika is like, okay, thanks for setting me free, but I kind of want to stay with you. Is that okay? So either it's that, or since Yuuta is a curse user and has this cursed energy, maybe he can replicate the energy that Rika had and create his own, which would make sense because Geto's not looking... It doesn't seem like Geto's after Yuuta anymore. Before Gojo killed him, it seemed like his main objective was like to keep going back to Yuuta and try to kill him over and over again to get a hold of that curse. But then that doesn't seem to be the case in season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen. He's after Yuji. So, So that's interesting. So I feel like Geto's mission has obviously changed since the movie. It's changed in the last year to be something along the lines with Yuji that's the case. But it's interesting. So we'll talk about Geto's power. But yeah, so obviously I think that either it's Rika or an artificial copy that is in his sword. I love Yuuta. I love Yuuta so much. He's a great character. And in one movie, it was like, sold. It's like, sold. It's what Shinji Ikari needed to be. Yuuta is Gege Akutami's re-envisionment of Shinji Ikari. And I'm absolutely in love with it. And they managed to get the same voice actress to play him. I could only imagine the people that watched Neon Genesis that saw her as the voice cast option and were like, that checks out. But man, so this movie was awesome. This movie was great. Is it a perfect 10? There's not enough Nanami Kento, unfortunately. No, there's a tiny, teensy bit of, I wish we'd had seen more of the battle, actually. I don't know. I wish we had seen more of that battle of all the demons, but it's fine. Yuta's the central focus of this. Yuuta is the main character of Volume 0 and the main character of this movie, as he should be. And now I'm so intrigued because Yuuta has been established to be away on these missions. He's the second year that is away on missions. And he has not met Yuji yet. He's not met Yuji or Nobara. He's met Megumi. He likes Megumi. Megumi likes Yuuta. I can't imagine why. I think that it's kind of cool because we get a little bit set up here with Yuuta and Maki. And their kind of friendship. So obviously, if Megumi respects Maki and Yuuta realizes that Megumi and her are related, then he'd probably be like, oh, you're Maki's cousin. Oh, cool. And seeing how Megumi's not really tied to the Zenin clan like Maki, I could see Yuuta respecting him just as much as Maki, and then them forming a friendship. I would imagine Yuuta would get along great with Yuji, though. I don't know. Yuji's such a nice protagonist. I could see him and Yuuta getting along great. So I'm really curious. I want to see them meet now. That's so curious. I feel like Nobara would be kind of like cold to Yuuta at first, but then she'd warm up to him. I don't know. I feel like they would get along. So I'm hoping in season 2 that Yuuta comes back. I feel like Volume 0 came out after Jujutsu Kaisen had started, and Akutami was saying, okay, well, here's this story. I'm going to put it out there, and it's going to prep you for the events that are going to happen in season 2 when Yuuta comes back into the storyline. So you'll know everything you need to know about Yuuta, his backstory, everything. You'll know all that going into season 2, so I won't have to retell it. You'll know it. I don't have to waste time on it. It's its own thing. It's like Akutami did the flashback arc that I love and just made a whole movie about it with a brand new character. And I'm like, thank you. So yeah, so I'm guessing Yuta's going to come back in the second season and possibly interact with our main trio now. And we'll see how that goes, right? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really, really curious. But yeah, so let's go through this movie because this movie had a lot going on. So having the idea, okay, I have to say, again, the use of, and this is a stylistic thing, so the use of the black screen with text. And again, some of these things you may be like, oh, Romania, those are in lots of other anime. And I'm like, that may be, but I'm not watching those anime right now. I'm watching Neon Genesis Evangelion, and these are things that are in it. So yeah, the black text with the white thing, going over the text of exposition, that's a very NGE thing to do. We see like the goons that are the bullies, and Yuuta telling him not to come near him, and that's when Rika attacks him. Yeah, and Rika, due to persistent bullying. So November 2016, so like less than half a year, 4 males, including Lever, suffered grave injuries. And them being in the locker room. The animation in this was gorgeous. And him saying, I'm sorry. And then Jujutsu Kaisen, in typical Jujutsu Kaisen fashion, Akutami makes everything just so gross and creepy. And it's just a tinge. It's just a tinge of creepy. And it's not creepy like, there's gore. There's gore. It's not excessive, but it's just enough to be disorienting where you're like, oh. And you just kind of pull back, right? It's just enough to tease you with how creepy it is. And him shaking with the shoes and then being stuffed in the locker room and just bleeding. And then it opens up just a hair and the lightning flashes just enough so that you see them all stuffed in the locker. Oh my God. And so then we have the trial room, Gojo's personal trial room that he brings, again, that he brings Yuji to. Although I will say this, we cannot really compare Yuji to Yuuta. They are totally different characters. They are very different characters under very different circumstances. The only thing that is similar about Yuuta and Yuji throughout this whole movie, the only thing that's really similar is that they're both very emotion-driven people. Yuuta and Yuji both act very much on emotion. Like when Junpei is hurt, Yuji acts out against Mahito. And then in this case, when Yuuta sees Maki and Panda and Inumaki hurt, he acts out against Geto. So they're both very emotion-driven, and they both are originally by the old geezers sentenced to death. But that's literally the only thing similar between the two of them. They have very, very, very different backstories, very different power sets, totally different personalities. They are only similar in the fact that they're both targeted for being special grade, and they both are very emotional characters. Now, Gojo! We're going to talk about Gojo. I'm going to put Gojo, I'm going to put Gojo over here. Gojo with his beautiful eyes, his blue eyes. So yeah, we're going to put Gojo right here. All right, and Gojo hating the elders. Hating the elders and not wanting to be one of them. No. Because he stands up for Yuuta and it's like, he's only 16 years old. He's like, we don't know how many he might have cursed, right? And it says he's already turned the tables on a grade 1 sorcerer and 3 grade 2 sorcerers, and that's why you turn to me. They got his lip gloss on point. Blistex was having like a run with Gojo. He's like, have you forgotten that? Then you're actually, he's like, yes. Okatsu Yuuta will be taken to Jujutsu High. I'm going to make note of Yuuta in the chair. And that's all I'll say. I'm just going to say just a phrase or two from Neon Genesis, and if you get it, you get it. And if not, we can talk in the comments. Just put Neon Genesis spoilers. And so he's like, what is this? It's the knife. And he's bent the knife. He says, it used to be a knife. And talks about how Rika altered it. And he's like, I tried to die, but Rika-chan interfered. So he tried to kill himself, but Rika stopped him. So he's wanted to die. Again, all I'm going to say is that Rika is maybe like an Eva. Kind of. A little bit. A little bit. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's dark! I like the Gojo goes, well, that's dark! like, why are we are 2 minutes into this movie and Gojo's like, oh god, this kid wants to kill himself. Nope. And he's like, you're going to a new school instead. Mm-hmm. And he says he's not going to go. Yeah, he talks about, basically says, I've got to stop it. He's like, he denies the call to action. Denies call to action. Doesn't want to hurt anyone. Just do that there. And so he says he's not going to go outside. And Gojo's like, well, you can't just stay here forever. Living by yourself gets lonely. He says the curse placed upon you is one that can save people depending on how it's used. Yeah, and he says you learn to use that power. It's not like it'll be too late to cast everything away after that. Oh, I love it! So yeah, then he goes there, goes to the school, and it's just, the animation's gorgeous, of course. And we get the introduction of Panda and Inumaki and all of them. I'm just going to say that Gojo introducing the quote-unquote transfer student. All I'm going to say is Masato, rejoice, boys! Like, that's all I'm going to say. Gojo is basically Masato in this. Does that make Geto Kaji? I don't know. So yeah, the transfer student. Gojo is just, oh my god, ridiculous. What I love is that when the moment he walks in, they sense that spiritual energy and they all freak out, like the cursed energy, and they sense that it's coming with him and it's Rika. I love it. And they instantly just get ready to attack, and Yuta's like, hi, I'm Yuuta. Like, he doesn't even know that they've reacted to it, right? I love it. And they're like, oh god. Like, his reactions are great. He's animated so well. Yuta's facial expressions, everything is animated perfectly in this. I absolutely love him. And I love that Maki explains this is a place to learn curses, not for the cursed. And I love that Gojo did not explain any of this to him. He waited till he got there for them to explain how curses work. And then he's like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, this whole thing, you might need to know this. And even the other students, like the three of them are like, you didn't tell him about any of this before he showed up? And he's like, I figured he'd just learn it here, it's fine. And Yuta's like, you're just now explaining this to me? Bless his heart. Yuta's just like, I didn't ask to be the protagonist. It's great. Again, his reaction is a lot different than Yuji's. The humor and the way that they animated it is great. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Whoops. And he's like, oh, you guys should get back. Oh my god. Because there's Rika. I love it. It's wonderful. And then we get the backstory about the whole backstory with him, that basically Yuuta loves Rika. We get that 6 years ago beforehand. So we also find out that distantly Yuuta and Gojo are related distantly. They're distant relations. So that makes sense that he's actually among the clan. I'm also going to point out, as I'm looking through here, that we have Yuuta building the sandcastle. Yuuta building the sandcastle. Just going to point that out there. Just going to throw it out there as Rika talks about giving him the ring. And it's the symbol of their love for one another. Yep. And so, yeah, they all get... And basically, the whole thing, it all makes sense now, where it's tying back to his curse. His curse came out to her body as she was dying because he didn't want her to die and put a curse on her, making her into one. So, and that's kind of latched onto him. It all makes sense. I love it. That's great. And I love how they explained it at the end, like it all ties back full circle. It's kind of crazy, right? So yeah, we get introduced to all them. We get introduced back to Panda and Maki. We get kind of their backstories. It's a nice little callback to season 1. So if you've forgotten things, then this will all tie back together. It's great. She rejects the Zenin name. Gojo just has this amazing habit of just dropping people off and leaving. I like that Panda tries to comfort Yuuta too, saying that she has a habit of acting like she understands others when she doesn't. I love that he's like, oh, no, that's not it, but thanks, Giant Panda. She's right. Oh, I love that every time, like, the girls, the twin girls that were with, or the sisters that were with Geto, when they see Panda, like, oh my god, a panda! And then Gojo, his whole explanation of Panda is like, here's Maki, here's all the stuff about her, here's, Inumaki, here's all his stuff about him, and then there's Panda. Okay, we're good to go, right? And he's like, wait, no, the thing that I want to know the most about, you're just totally skipping. It's wonderful. It's a nice callback. I like that Itachi is in this. I love that he gets to do things. He gets to, like, be kind of badass. I love it. But yeah, the thing with the veil. But yeah, then Gojo's like, okay, don't die. Gojo has a very hands-off approach, right? Gojo is very hands-off with his students. It's kind of like if Yoda just left Luke and was like, you'll figure this out, right? It's kind of great. I love it, though. But he's with Maki, so he can't say anything, right? And she kind of teaches him the ins and outs. And I like how much Yuuta grows throughout this movie. He goes from being really, really scared and passive and, like, not sure of what to do to, by the end of it, when he faces Geto, he, like, has, like, all this confidence and everything and believes in himself and has self-affirmation. It's this great transformation, and we establish it's not instant, right? We establish in the movie that it's happened over a course of months of him being around the others. It's kind of funny. We have, in this scenario, the concept of being involved with this thing that gives you purpose leads to toxicity and, like, stagnation and, like, mental breakdowns. But in Yuta's case, being around people who are kind of positive and like-minded and kind of having this good sense of, personal self-worth and well-being actually allows him to grow too. So it kind of, the environment sort of has the opposite effect, which is interesting. I like that little subversion that Akutami does with that. But he's a special grade, right? The whole thing is very creepy. Like, when they're inside the stomach of the curse, and, like, the kid has his eyes all messed up, and the one kid looks like he's about to die, and then we see her leg, and it's got the leg with the eyeballs in the curse where Maki was cut is disgusting. Like, that's so creepy. I'm very much against, like, the idea of, like, parasites or something. I'm like, nope. That's so gross. I do love Maki's leg warmers, though. They're really nice. But again, they're in the belly of the beast. Yuuta is asked to save them. He doesn't think he can do it. He just doesn't... What is this here? He asks if Maki is going to die, and she grabs him, and he's trying to figure out how he can save these two kids who are, like, begging for his help. And Yuta's like, I don't know what to do. He questions. He's like, you keep asking, but I can't. And so again, we have the questioning if he can or cannot save them. And then Maki grabs him as he's having this little moment, and she says, why did you come to Jujutsu High? Why did you come? And he's like, what do you want to do? What do you have? What do you want to achieve? So the question of why did you come here? And what is your purpose? There's so many ties Neon Genesis with his backstory. It's kind of insane. I love it. I absolutely love it. And he's like, I don't want anyone to get hurt anymore. Which I do like that, because in this series, in NGE, there's a big question of why Shinji is there and questioning his affirmation and like his purpose, and he constantly doubts himself and his self-worth. Here, Yuuta does have a purpose. He does know why he decided to come. And here he says it outright. He's like, I didn't want anybody to get hurt anymore, so I thought that's why I'm here, to try and help. So at least it's stated, right? I tried to lock myself away and disappear, but I was told it's lonely being all by myself. And I couldn't argue. So the concept of loneliness and disappearing and purpose. All that fun stuff brought up. So yeah, it's a fun time. And he's like, I want to interact with someone. I want to be needed by someone. And I want the confidence to say it's okay that I'm alive. So all I'm going to say is episode 26. It's basically the whole affirmation there. I was losing my mind watching this, going, oh my God. So then they managed to, and then Maki becomes like Masato, where she's just like, well, then exercise the curses. Get rid of them. And the confidence and friends will come to you after that. And that's just the kind of place that this is. And so he actually does it. Unlike in this, where Shinji doesn't do the thing, Yuuta does. And he has, I love that he takes the chain off. And at first I was like, why is he breaking the chain off? But then he puts it on. And that's what he uses to connect to Rika. It's a conduit. The ring allows him to focus the curse energy. And then he uses the blade later on to focus it even more. It's just wonderful. I love it. And the idea, and I love that I love the idea that Yuuta carries all three of them out of the veil, and like you see like his bicep, like the boy's got some muscle on him. And then Rika, the idea that Rika loves him and that she gets jealous, like when she tries to hurt Maki, and when he threatens her, he's like, are you trying to hurt her? You should be as delicate as a butterfly with her, because that's what I want you to do. That was another foreshadowing moment, thinking back, where that proves he was in control. He's the one that cursed her, because he actually was controlling her to an extent. He just didn't realize it yet. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. And we have the whole thing of him and her meeting in the hospital, right? And so Gojo talks with him after everything goes down at the elementary school and says that he was remembering something. And Gojo just being like, I don't think Rika-chan cursed me. I think I might have cursed her. And Gojo's like, funny that. He's like, I love that the gears are turning, and Gojo's head is like, there's no more curse. There's no curse more twisted than love. Oh, okay. Gojo and Geto. No curse more twisted than love. They were just good friends. just best friends. Sure, Gege. Sure thing, Jan. I don't believe you. But yeah. Yuuta and Rika's relationship is kind of twisted, because I'm pretty sure he kissed her at the end when he asked her to like help him. I'm pretty sure he made out with the curse. I'm pretty sure that Yuuta made out with his curse, which is fine. Yuuta loves Rika. It's totally cool. But I love the idea of how twisted it is. It's great. And then we have Maki without her glasses there. And Inumaki, and he says, while I'm here, I'll break Rika's curse, which he ends up doing. It's great. And Gojo's like, cool, I like this theory you got, kid. So yeah, and then Gojo showing up. Well, first we get Geto popping up and seeing the card and everything. Creepy as hell. So then the elders, they're like, yeah, the curse could have wiped out the entire time. I love that Gojo just like shows up like on his way to go get groceries to see the elders. He's got like his jacket on and his like glasses, And I love that he always hides his eyes, which we know now his eyes are absolutely linked to his power. Okay, which he has to like expose them for it to work. And he has his hair done. It's interesting because now we see the mechanism when he puts the bandages on, it pushes his hair up, and that's what makes it spike like it does. But I like down hair Gojo the best. I like Gojo with his hair down, personally. One thing we can say about that curse is that we don't understand. We don't understand it. Why would she become such an immense curse? Well, because of Yuuta. And I like Gojo's like, we need to understand it better. And so he like, as he's saying this, he's reminiscing about watching Yuuta like run around the track along with the others. I do like that they keep it very consistent, the track outfits that they wear. Oh, bless his heart. I love it. Oh, Gojo. Sweet, sweet Gojo. So he takes him to the armory, gives him the katana that he's going to use to channel it. I like the idea of Maki and Yuuta bonding over like doing the swordsmanship. And we see that like months have passed and Yuta's gotten slowly better and better with the sword. I like it. I think that connection's really cool. It's a fun scene. I like the scene of them practicing. And then Panda tries to hook him up. Panda tries to hook Yuuta up with Maki. And I was like, Panda, sweetheart, no offense, but Maki's like, if Maki's interested in anybody, it is not Yuuta. It is Nobara, which Nobara wasn't around then. But I'm like, Also, just realizing that Maki is not wearing a skirt. They're pants with the pleated legs. Freaking love it. I love the design of it. It's great. He's like, oh, his personality is more positive. And he's like, Maki looks like she's having fun too. And then, yeah, Panda just wants to be like matchmaker. And it's like, no, honey, Revelation is wrong. Yuuta is not into Maki and Maki is not into Yuuta. They definitely have like a sibling vibe. They definitely seem like older brother, big sister. Or big sister, younger brother. So then we have the whole thing with Inumaki about the cursed speech. We find out that there are as many ways to exercise a curse as there are sorcerers. It's great. And so then he sends them on their way to go and do the exorcism for the company that's trying to build in the shopping district. Okay, and we see Yuuta with the sword. Even back then, Rika was covered up in the same cloth. Okay, cool. But man, I love I forget how creepy the curses are in this movie. I forget how creepy in this series the curses are because they just are all kind of, they're attached to humanity in the weirdest of ways. So at this point, we might as well bring up Geto. We might as well bring up Geto in this. The idea of Geto's ability. So Geto's ability is that he can basically store and manipulate curses. He is the Pokemaster. He has all 8 gym badges, and he ate the Elite Four. Basically is Geto. And he turns them all into like the little ball, which now the OP in the second half makes so much sense in part 2 of season 1 when we see Geto pouring the chocolate over the ball and it's all melting. That's his power. So he makes the curses into little balls and eats them. Ugh. So, and he stored roughly 4,500 curses, including special grade, which he said there were 16 total? 16 special grades total? Gross. But he said that there were 4. He said there were 4 special grade sorcerers, which I'm assuming are Gojo, Geto, Yuuta, and there's another one. There's a 4th one. I guess 5 now that Yuji is there too, because Yuji's special grade. Curious. But yeah, so I love Inumaki. We get the establishment. I'm going to take a wild guess. There's probably people that ship Inumaki and Yuuta. I'm going to guess because unlike with Maki and Yuuta before, that kind of had like a sibling vibe. I could totally, the fact that Inumaki saves Yuuta, the fact that they have that moment where he like tries to keep Yuuta there to save him and keep him safe and everything. They have the white hair, black hair vibes going. I just, I can see how people would ship them together. I don't know. This sounds weird, but I can ship Yuuta with Inumaki, but I kind of ship Yuuta and Rika. I ship him with this dead spirit girl. I'm like, Yuta's like a necromancer. I totally ship him with her. It's the weirdest thing. It's like the ultimate star-crossed lovers. Together forever till death do us part. And then death parts them and they're still together. I'm kind of for it. It's Jujutsu Kaisen. The show kind of begs to go off the deep end a little bit, right? But yeah, so then Geto, the idea, I love that Yuuta kind of shows off in this little, it almost felt very episodic, right? This whole, up until the end of the second act, like there's that clear first act where we meet Yuuta and he has the run-in with Maki. And then Maki and Yuta's adventure, as well as Yuuta and Inumaki's adventure, they almost seem like they could have been episodes. But then once we get past Inumaki, the rest of the series feels like a feature-length film. The rest of it feels just like the flow of a movie. So I can see why they chose to take this volume and make it its own thing. I can see why they ran with it because it's perfect for it. It's almost like Gege was like, yeah, let's just make this into possibly a movie later. But for now, it's just one volume, right? And so Yuuta also talks about how Inumaki's been really kind to him. He sensed the compassion. He's helped him. He can see that despite this curse that he has, he's capable of being a kind person that is compassionate towards others, and he wants to pay it back in kind. And I love that they do the little clap. As soon as they did the little clap, I was like, no. There was ominous music playing while they were doing the clap, and I was like, nope, not about it. But yeah. So, okay, here's the thing. We have Gojo, or we have Geto. He says, once I break Rika-chan's curse, I'll be a normal person. No. No, you're not normal. You're not the normal one. You're the cursed one, right? You're the cursed user. So I find it funny when he says that. I won't be able to say Jujutsu High anymore. Yeah, that's not happening. But until then, I want to be useful to everyone. And that's when we have Geto, who put up the extra veil. And so there's this creepy worm, that has the card that it collected. Okay. So his birthday is March 7th. So he's a Pisces. Interesting. So we have our little Pisces boy. And, yep, Yuuta. Okay. Interesting. So we got back here to everything afterwards with Inumaki and all of them. And then we get Gojo going. As soon as Gojo went to the scene, I was like, he knows that Geto's there. He knows. It's like he knows the cologne that he wears. He knows the cologne he wears. He looks up at that beam that he specifically was at. He says it's cursed energy, but we know. We know how he knew that he was there. There's so much history that is just bubbling under the surface with Geto and Gojo, and that teaser poster for season 2, I'm like, you know exactly what you're doing, Mappa! You know what you're doing! So I'm excited. So that means that possibly we are going to get Geto and Airi and Gojo flashbacks in season 2. I'm here for it. Y'all know how much I love a flashback. But I am here for the backstory with these three. Because we get a lot of it in this movie. We at least get a lot about Geto's MO and Gojo. Here's the thing. We get a lot of Geto's philosophy in this movie. Which is like a major exposition dump from season 1. Like, okay. But that's curious because it's a little different than how it is now. So I'm curious what has changed, right? But with Gojo, there's still so much mystery with his character. It's fascinating. But I love the composition of Itachi and him, like, in the red room, and it's all just so creepy. And poor Itachi, he's like, he expects to be punished by Gojo. Our poor dude, he feels like it's his fault that Yuuta and him were put in danger. It's so sad. Gojo's like, no, my ex-boyfriend's just, like, kind of insane. You were outclassed. He's like, oh, I know who did it. He's like, oh, I know. And we cut straight from Gojo to Geto. We go from the front of Gojo's face to the back of Geto. Like, you could not be more obvious. So Geto has like his own little cult. His own cult of curse users as he's sitting there. I like he has the thing, the armrest, and he's just sitting there like lounging around. Like, what the fudge? So here's the thing about Geto. There is that banner. The banner with the motto that says, "Death to fools. Death to fools. Punishment to the weak. Punishment to the weak. And love to the strong." Well, I could see why he would love Gojo. Because Gojo's the strongest, right? Gojo's the established strongest character in this series. So, of course, that would be why Geto would love him. But the whole thing of death to the fools and punishment to the weak, it's fascinating, right? And we see he's like grown his hair out from the flashbacks. There's something creepy about Geto. It's like the gauged ears that make him like more elongated, and his smile is like unnaturally wide. Yeah. It's so bizarre. And then the idea, because if you don't watch Ace of the Diamond, Miyuki, who is the voice actor of like the main catcher of that series, is the voice actor for Geto, and it's like, it's just okay. It goes back and forth to them. One of the 4 special grade sorcerers who was banished from Jujutsu High after cursing 100 normal people to death. So that's why. So he cursed 100 quote unquote normal people to death, who he calls monkeys. He has very much Frieza and vocabulary as far as that's concerned. And Gojo's like, no, we don't do that. He's the worst curse user. Oh, with that smile. It's so trolling. It's very Miyuki. It's very trolling. Okay. And then we have the people with the curse. And like, they coming up to him, and talking about how the curse acts around him. Ugh. It's so creepy. And it's like violating her. It's disgusting. But he pulls it away to keep for himself. Ugh. And makes it into the little ball that he eats. That's so crazy. Ugh. And then he eats the ball. So it's like, it's such a weird thing that he's doing the service, but all he's doing the service to the normal humans is that he's taking away the curse so that he can keep it for himself. So really, it's like, instead of him going out and finding curses on his own and exercising them and taking them, instead he just waits for the people to come to him, right? And so there's this big talk about gods, right? So he's like, Godly, you're a smart one, aren't you? Filthy monkey who can't even use jujitsu. Like his face, like when he smiles like that, it's so creepy. Okay. So the idea that he believes that jujitsu, because he kind of makes the comment that the jujitsu sorcerers are what gods were based off of, is what he's getting at. He's like, well, all the stories about gods and stuff, well, that's just, people just made those stories up after being around people like us jujitsu sorcerers, because we're godly. We're basically like that. We're above them. It's like, ugh. And I love that girl says, your true feelings are showing, Geto-sama. And he's like, oh shit. Yeah, I was evil monologuing. Thanks for breaking me out of it. And then he does the disinfectant spray. Yeah, disinfecting deodorant to catch the monkey smell. Oh, like he's so, it's not even like an elitism. It's just he thinks it's like he views humanity as a plague, right? He views non-jujitsu sorcerers as a plague that he wants to get rid of, because he says that he wants to make it where it's a world of only jujitsu sorcerers and no people that are not. It's quite it's quite genocidal, and we're just gonna take out an entire sect of humanity. It's fine, no big deal, not scary at all. And so then we have the one guy, but here's the thing. his personality is like, oh, let's all take a photo together since we're all here. His personality is very similar to Gojo's. That's the thing. I thought going into this movie, because we didn't know a lot about Geto from season 1, I thought going into this movie that Geto would be a lot more serious and a lot more like stern and stoic, but no, Gojo in comparison, Gojo is the stern one, right? So he has a similar personality to Geto. This is why they're not good as a couple, y'all. This is why they had to break up. Because it reminds me of two friends I had in college. They both kind of had very crazy, similar personalities. Crazy can't date crazy. It doesn't work out. One side has to be a little bit more stable than the other. This is too much chaos. It's chaos times chaos in a couple. It's too much. No. It was doomed to fail from the start. Now I get why a lot of people ship Nanami and Gojo. I didn't get it until this movie. I was like, no, I thought Gojo and Geto are shipped. I thought that was the big ship. And I still am. I still ship Geto and Gojo a lot, but it's too much chaos. I'm like, no, it's not a long-lasting relationship. It is Angst City. I'm sure the flashbacks with them are going to be Angst City. It's hinted at in this movie. No, too much chaos. Crazy can't do crazy for long. No, I get why people ship him and Nanami together, because I'm like, no, Nanami is the adult of all adults, the most stable in a relationship. If you're going to ship Gojo with him, it makes sense because Gojo's got that chaos factor. You need something to ground it out. That's where Nanami comes in as the anchor. This is just, no. I ship it so hard, but it's so toxic and crazy. Maybe not toxic isn't the right word, but I mean, I ship Geto and Gojo throughout this whole film. The sexual tension oozing off of them whenever they're near each other, it's palpable. I love it, but I understand that it's that relationship that you watch from afar and you're like, this is gonna go to, it's blank space. Like anytime Gojo and Geto are together, Geto's got his headphones in and Blank Space by Taylor Swift is blaring. That's their relationship. And because here's the thing, that girl, the girl in the purple that takes her photo with Geto and her, just like, it reminded me instantly of Miwa taking her picture with Gojo, except it's the reverse. They're two sides of the same coin. It's just flipped, right? You have Gojo, who seems concerned with saving humanity and thinks that, you know, some of the Jujutsu sorcerers are very elitist, and he's very anti-elite. That's the thing, too. Gojo is he's anti-elitism. He's anti-elitism to the point where he's chaotic and rebellious. He is, like, so elitist that he wants to completely wipe out a portion of humanity because they're not elite enough. Like, that's where we're at with these two. Polar opposites in terms of their MO, but so similar in their personalities. And it's funny because you have the mirror of the situation, like in season 1, you have Miwa wanting to take the picture with Gojo, so she has the photo and takes the selfie, and Gojo's just like, I'll roll with it. Here, he gets the camera from her and takes the photo, right? Flip it, reverse it. I freaking love it. And she's like, give it back, Geto. And so then this guy comes, and just to prove how dastardly Geto is and how kind of like chaotic he is, and he's hard to predict what he's going to do, he kills this man and spares the woman and the other man. So yeah, and he's like, you didn't pay me enough fast enough. It's kind of creepy. Yep. So then we have Yuuta and all them. We cut back to them. And then the gang gets all together. It's so funny. We have this colorful cast of characters between, you know, the Jujutsu high people and then Geto's school of misfits, right, that he's collected together. And they just show up in this big demonic, like, Ghibli-style pelican. It was a very Ghibli thing. Why not? But it has the angel wings. Shows up with the angel wings because we can. I'm just going to put that out there. That one's not so much tied to it, but I just felt like adding to it. Why not? But yeah, but he instantly, like, I got very, like, we talk about Akutami Gege, the guy that creates Jujutsu Kaisen, him and Horikoshi, who is My Hero Academia's author, they're like besties. They're really close friends. And the one girl, not Nanako, maybe Kimiko, one of the two sisters, The one that goes, oh, it's a panda. She reminds me a lot of, Tomiko. A lot of, now it took out, I can't say her name now, but Toga from My Hero Academia. She reminds me a lot of Toga. And not only in her appearance, but her attitude. It's a fun time. But yeah, Geto instantly shows up at Yuta's side. Like, so quickly. And he's so theatrical. The thing that gets me about Geto is how theatrical he is. He talks, it's kind of crazy. He like instantly shows up. He says, have you ever questioned the current state of the world? And Yuta's like, no. He's like, this world where jujutsu sorcerers act in secret in order to protect the order of commonplace society. So Geto is upset because he's like, the special people have to be secret and protect the weak, which goes against that whole punishment to the weak thing. He's like, why is it that we are the ones that are like gods, but we have to work in secret to protect these people that don't appreciate us and that are weaker than us? Why do we have to do that? Why can't we just show off our powers and rule? Basically. He's like, this established paradox, saying the strong must accommodate the weak. He's like, it's so deplorable. And he's so theatrical about it. And Yuta's just like, what the hell? I love how Yuta's like, I don't get it, but okay. The apex of all creation has halted its own path of evolution. And that's the thing too. Okay, Gendo, let's do this, Geto. But he says that humanity is now stagnant and not evolving. He's saying this jujutsu sorcery is a way for us to evolve and become higher beings, and us limiting ourselves and not going to our full potential, it's limiting us and it's stagnating our evolution. Oh my gosh. And he's like, it's nonsense. He's so dramatic. I could not have predicted this in 1,000 years. It's high time mankind considered its strategy for survival. So he wants to be like survival of the strongest. Like, get the weak out of here, survival of the fittest, a world of jujutsu sorcerers, and that's it. We'll just be a strong world, and we'll just be a world of gods. And it's like, well, but if there's just you all, and you're all on the equal playing field, then nobody's special anymore, right? So what does that do, right? If you just eliminate everybody and there's only special people, then no one's special anymore. But I'm not here to question Geto's philosophical ideas. He's like, I'd like you to help us. And he's like, help with what? And he's like, we're going to kill all the non-sorcerers and create a world only of jujutsu sorcerers. And Yuta's like, what? Like, Geto just comes out and says it. Like, the evil villain monologue that usually happens at the, like, end of the movie, Geto just shows up and just says what their point is, just doesn't even hold back. It's just like, here's our plan. And everybody's like, seriously. And even Inumaki's like, he's like, could you stop preaching your crazy beliefs to my students? Gojo's like, get your cult out of here. I don't want to go to church. That's Gojo. Oh my God. I can't. And then the sexual tension between the two of them. The tension between the two of them as they stare at each other. It's like, now kiss. That's just what, like, except instead of now kiss, like, now kill. That's how they are. And he's like, oh, Satoru, long time no see. He's like, first of all, get away from those kids, Suguru. They're on a first name basis, bitches. I also love that Mei shows up with her battle axe, like wrapped up in this red shroud. Like you couldn't tell it was behind her. And Nanami's just there. It's great. And the principal, like, is cracking his knuckles. It's wonderful. Oh, that smile that he gives him. Oh, chaos. Pure chaos. I heard these first years were all outstanding students. Like, he just smirks at him. It was all your doing. A special grade cursed human, a cursed corpse mutation, the descendant of the cursed speech users. And the way that he just like, and saves the last for Maki, the Zenin clan's failure. And she's like, you piece of shit. I was like, and he calls her a monkey. So he thinks that by his standards, Maki would not be allowed to stay in the world. By his standards, she'd have to be killed because she can't see curses. I'm like, bitch, she better than most of the curse users in this story. Leave her alone. Like, he just looks down on her so much. And that's when Yuta's like, how about no? Yuta's like, you were doing good. I was going to listen to your crazy cult plans, but then you said you didn't like my friends. And I'm not about that life, so bye. Oh my God. I love it. I love Yuta in this. And I love that, like, Geto is like the strongest person in this movie. And Yuta just like gets him off and Geto's like, oh, what? Like, it's so great. I love it. Where he tells him sorry, but he's like, I don't get what you're talking about. And if you're threatening my friends, I'm not about it. I can't help anybody that insults my friends. And then I love that Geto's like, oh, my apologies. I didn't mean to make you upset. I just, want to kill all your friends. It's fine. And then Gojo's like, why are you here? This is like the most nonchalant confrontation. I did not expect Geto to just show up at their doorstep and for them to be like everybody's it's just like a brawl outside of a Denny's. That's the energy I get, right? You have Gojo and Geto, who are the two strongest characters possibly in this show before we get to Mojito. And then they're just like, it's like somebody's baby shower is about to have a brawl. I'm like, what is happening? Again, the tension between these two is like, oh, I'm here to declare war. Bye. And he's like, listen carefully. I'm like, we're going to have this big demon parade. If you wish to avoid seeing everything go to hell, then go to these two cities and let us freely curse each other. Oh my God. And Panda's like, what the hell? Yuta's like, I didn't sign up for any of this. I just imagine Go just rolling his eyes. But the thing of it is that Geto, his crew, like the crew that he's ensembled, the two girls and the guy, we didn't even get the guy with the heart titties. We didn't even get him in this. We didn't even talk about him. He didn't even play a part in this, but I'm like, he has like one of the more interesting designs. But they're just like, Geto-sama, we want to go shopping. Like, they're not taking this seriously at all. And he's like, oh. It's like, sorry, my brats that I've adopted, I've got to go take them to go get their Happy Meal. Bye. It's just, like, he's taken on those two girls. And we'll talk about that in a minute. He's like, okay, bye, see ya. And Gojo's like, what makes you think that we're going to let you leave? And he's like, yeah, no. He has all the curses at his disposal. And leaves them all there to fight them. Oh my God. And Gojo's just like, I'd still hit it. Or he already has and he regrets it. Survival of the weakest. That's the proper form society should take. Oh. So we talk about this. We get the flashback between them. And the idea of society being survival of the weakest. So I wanted to go back to this conversation that the two of them have, right? Saying that that's the form society should take. It should help the weak and discourage the strong. Listen, Satoru. Sorcerers exist to protect non-sorcerers. That's your argument? I hate righteousness. So the idea of the sorcerers protecting those that are not. So, and then Gojo, I think Gojo is the one that said, I hate righteousness. He's like, are you the strong? And then, so this scene of them on the street when they're looking at each other, I feel like this is the breakup scene. This is the breakup between Geto and Gojo, because Geto's hair's grown out. And I feel like this is, if we're looking at the timeline, whenever the two girls were picked up by Geto and he killed the humans that were like holding them hostage, his hair was really short. So I imagine that this is after he picked up the two girls. Like, I imagine that stuff went down, Geto left, picked up the two girls and did his own thing, and then Gojo and him met up again, which is this street scene, and that's when they officially parted ways. Like, they officially broke up and are now exes. He says, are you the strongest because you're Gojo Satoru? Or are you Gojo Satoru because you're the strongest? So who makes what? Does your name make you the strongest, or does who you are make you the strongest? Which is, can it be both? He's like, what are you trying to say? He says, if I could become you, then wouldn't my foolish ideals become reasonable possibilities? So yeah, so he's saying, Geto is saying that Gojo is the strongest because of who he is, because of his family name. He's saying that Gojo is capable because of who he is. He's like, if I were you, then all my foolish ideals would become possibilities because I would have your family name. I would be you. And then Gojo, we just see him. He's in this has to be when they're still in school because he has the suit on. But Geto does not. So maybe Geto's left the school. And Gojo doesn't say anything. He's like, I've decided how to live my life. All that's left to do is what I can to the best of my ability. So he decides, he's like, I've made my choice. He's like, I've made my choice. And I'm going to live with it. So there's this really funny dynamic between Gojo and Geto, where Geto, for being so elite and wanting to do this survival of the fittest sort of thing, he kind of chastises Gojo a little bit because he's like, look, Gojo, you're proving my point. You're strong because your family is strong, because it's maintained that bloodline and maintained that strength all this time. And he's like, but also, it's kind of unfair because you have this privilege because of your family name. You get to do whatever you want. And I guess Geto does not have the family name. And maybe Geto's had to work his way up from nothing. And then maybe Geto saw how corrupt, because Gojo knows that the elders are corrupt and awful. He says he's not going to become one of them. And Gojo's whole mission in the first season was telling Yuji, he's like, look, I'm strong, so I'm going to do what I can to make my reality happen. And these old geezers aren't going to be able to stop me. So that's kind of the deal. But Geto kind of gets onto Gojo saying that he's only capable of making that possible because of who he is. And the whole scene after that, where they're like star-crossed lovers gazing out into the sunset as if they're looking towards one another, where it's just like him gazing out the window into the sunset, and then you cut over to Gojo at the same thing, looking at the same sunset. Like, these two, like, you could not ship them more, right? And it's him walking away. And Gojo, like, with this finger, like he's gonna flick him, but lets him go. Can't do it. So does he kill Geto in the end? I think he does, but Geto Saguru, a special curse grade user who uses curse spirit manipulation. Yeah, because his hair is shorter than he uses curse spirit manipulation. He's able to draw on and manipulate naturally occurring unbound curses. So he can't, that's why he has to kill Yuuta to get Rika, because she's bound to Yuuta. So he can't just collect the curse if they're bound to someone. So he can't get a hold of Sukuna unless he kills Yuji. That makes sense. So he can't get Sukuna the curse until he kills Yuji. That makes sense. So he's moved on from Yuuta and now he's targeting Yuji. Awesome. And he established a religious group to collect curses from his followers. Yep. Made a cult. Now, Mei seems to know who he is. Mei seems to have a history with him, which is interesting. And so does Airi. And this guy with the trench coat, I love his design. I don't know if we met him in season 1 or not. I love him. The guy with the trench, he's got a great design. He's cool. And so, yeah, the declining trend in the number of curses reported in recent years are tied to the fact that he claims he possesses way more than 2,000. Most of them are probably weaklings, but not all of them. There can't be more than 50 curse users. And Gojo's like, that's what's scary, is that he wouldn't start a war unless he thought there was a big chance that he could win. So he's got something up his sleeve. The one thing that I don't get in all of this is that Gojo, y'all, I guess none of them knew that he was after Yuuta. I guess none of them had figured that out because he'd set up the whole thing of the 100 curses as a trap. But, and because Geto plays them so hard, he's like, oh, that's what that muscle bane principal is probably spouting about right now. It's like he's talking about all this stuff, which is true. But then Airi, we cut to her, she leaves the meeting early, like walks away. So it's like, did Airi like him? The Night Parade of 100 Demons. Like, she walks away and saying, like, what an idiot he is, which is interesting. But my thing is, out of all this, I guess they didn't realize that he would try to get Yuuta. I guess that he'd kept it. But I'm like, he instantly... My thing is like, Gojo, why... I get Gojo didn't stick around because he wanted to see... He thought Geto would be on the battlefield. But I'm like, Geto clearly had a thing for Yuuta back there at the high school because he instantly, like, held his hand, right? And so, and was, like, all about trying to, like, teach him his philosophy. So I'm like, I was waiting for somebody to, like, go back to the school. They still naively believe my bluff from in school. So, he says it doesn't matter if it's bound as long as I kill its master, I can absorb it. So he establishes that it was a bluff in high school. Okay. So I guess that's why they left Yuuta and thought he was safe, because they thought as long as Rika was bound, there was no way for Geto to get it. But Geto apparently lied the whole time, and he actually can get the curse as long as he kills its user. Okay. So, because I was questioning, I'm like, why didn't they just send somebody? Why didn't Gojo stay back at the high school and watch over Yuuta? But I guess that's not Gojo's style, but they thought that Yuuta would be safe if he just stayed out of the fray. Okay. I do think it's so weird because Akutami talks about, like, this murder massacre, but then uses, like, the cute little animation of Geto eating the curse ball to, like, illustrate it. I'm like, what the fudge? The high odds of victory. Yeah, they won't use Okatsu as one of their cards. I do like that we get the moment between Maki and Yuuta, like that bonding moment where she explains her whole thing with the Zenin clan. She explains the thing with the Zenin clan and talks to Yuuta, and they kind of like bond over that moment. I really like it. It's very cute. And Maki, like her blushing because Yuuta accepts her. Like he accepts her as a person despite her bloodline. I love that. And I love that she's just like, Baka. It's really cute. I don't ship Maki and Yuuta at all, but I feel like they have like a best friend, like special vibe. And the way that they animate Yuuta is just so beautiful. Like he's so soft there. It's so cute. Which they have to establish Yuuta and Maki's friendship and their relationship in order for you to get super pissed off when Geto like mortally wounds her later on. It all makes sense. So yeah, interesting that Geto says there's one guy who looks like trouble, and it's the guy that it's Miguel, right? So it's curious why Gojo would want to get up with Miguel at the very end. Interesting. I guess we're gonna find out more in season 2. But yeah, Gojo in that eye. Gojo in that eye. It's great. And so we have the girls that can use the curses, the twins there. And then we have Miguel has the rope. He has the rope that all of his clan people have made for him. Interesting. And then, yeah, I'm in a hurry. So using the eye. Oh my God. Geto and those creepy Gojo and those doll eyes. Geto is terrifying though. Gojo is terrifying in his own way, but Geto is terrifying because that he can just use the curses, but he's strong on his own even without using them. And he's a good fighter without the curses, but then combined with that, the animation on Geto was just incredible in this. Like his facial expressions, the shadows, the fight scene with Panda and Inumaki and Gojo and all them and Yuuta. That whole fight scene at the very end was just Mappa being like, here we go. It was glorious. And the thing of it is, it didn't look too unlike the actual animated show. It didn't look like extra special, but it was so fluid. The fluidity of it was just wonderful. I loved it. I love that it kept its look of being Jujutsu Kaisen, but was so gorgeous. And then Yuuta just being like, I'll murder you. Here's the thing. Yuuta, he has his rage moment, just like every other anime character when they get that eye close up, and just and the thing of his the lines in his mouth. He asks Rika to come out and says he's gonna kill him, and Geto saying that like him using that curse has like amplified Like his senses, amplified his speed, amplified his ability to use the curse, everything. And they pretty much wipe out like a big portion of the Jujutsu High School that took probably like a year to rebuild. It's totally fine though. I love the shots of him in this. It's so good. And so then like she tries to like, Rika tries to attack Maki and then he gets mad at her. She like tries to take him out. He's like, don't be mad. And he's like, oh, I'm not mad at you. Again, I really kind of like Yuuta and Rika as a ship. I do. I know she's a curse. but I love it. I love them. Like the fact that she like thinks he's mad at her. It's really cute. He's like, our enemy is that man down there. And he's like, I loathe him. And he's like, we're doing that. Let's do this, Rika. And I love that he does like he has the snake eyes and fangs. The cursed seals of Inumaki clan. I love it. And he uses it to like kill him. It's so good. It's great. And May with the hammer, with the big battle axe. That was glorious. I loved that. May getting to shine. I love her design. May's design is probably one of my favorites in the whole show. Like with the braid and the purple outfit. I would cosplay as her, but that outfit would be hot as hell. This is hot enough to wear. And then yeah, we get the thing like I like the old Ijiti, however you say his name, our butler man. He like tells the girls like they've hung up all the other like men from the Jujutsu Kaisen High School, like the other like government officials. They've hung them up, and then they're gonna hang him. And we cut to their backstory, and they're just like these two brats. But the thing of it is with Nanako and Minako, that they're like, none of you know, do you? Just how Jujutsu sorcerers are treated out in the damn sticks that aren't even on the maps. And the doll that she has with the rope is the one that and I like that both of them have eyes that were damaged as kids, and the other eye is the one that's open, so it kind of like they combine and make one person with that. So they make the comment that out in the sticks, Jujutsu sorcerers are targeted. She's like, you all can enjoy that by yourselves. And we see that they've been locked up. So Geto does have sympathy. He has sympathy for sorcerers and doesn't think it's fair that those that are weaker would prey. Which it's funny because he rescues the two girls because they were being preyed upon by normal humans because they were weak, but then he wants to destroy the weak. So it's interesting, right? But when we see him, he's younger and his hair is much shorter. So it's before the Geto Gojo street corner breakup. It's before that when he rescues them, because he's fairly young in that. The way Geto-sama puts it, black is white and white is black too. We both believe in the world that he's envisioned. And yeah, he had his like shows them that. And anyone who gets in his way will hang. So she's the curse comes from her phone. Okay. And Miguel. So yeah, and so we get the thing with Airi, that she's in charge of like looking after all of the wounded soldiers and everything, because her curse usage looks like it's something to do with healing, right? And so she makes the comment, like, what is everybody doing? And she makes the comment about Geto. I'm going to try to figure out, like, what it is real quick. Because the one girl goes off and leaves in there. And she's like, ugh, you've really forced a heap of trouble on us, Geto. I can't wait to get their backstory. I can't wait. But yeah, just the outfit design. I'm just going to go ahead and add that to it. The outfit of Yuuta is basically like a combination of Shinji and Kaoru. If you don't know who those characters are, don't worry about it. Especially the high tops. High tops make me think of the latter. So yeah, so from there, we get the fight between Yuuta and Geto, and it's freaking glorious. It's great. Geto's like, this curse that you have is making you have a sense of omnipotence, and your senses are sharpened. And he's like, I want that power. I want Rika. And the worm thing gives him the pair of nunchucks that we established, I thought, in the season were Zenin weapons. So the worm, somehow he's had access, which he could have killed somebody from the Zenin clan and taken them from him. Could have done that. Interesting. He says, especially when we jujitsu sorcerers exist without belief. So he's basically saying that the jujitsu sorcerers are all like agnostic. They don't believe in a higher power because they are the higher power that the humans are worshiping. They just don't realize it. Okay. That's what he's saying. And I like that Yuuta's like, I don't care about your religious dogma. You're hurting my friends. Power and Nakama, bitch. I love it. It literally is. Oh my God. He's like, Yuuta is the power of love and Nakama versus this cursed sorcerer who's like, it's like basically this dogmatic philosophical belief versus power of Nakama. And the power of Nakama wins. It's great. I absolutely love it. But the fight scene between them is just insanity. It's so good. It's so fluid. It's beautiful. What else can we say? Like Mappa goes all out on it. It's absolutely glorious. I love it. And then Yuuta decides to ask for one more time. He asks Rika, he's like, I'll let you devour me and destroy me if you'll give me all of your power. And the thing of it is that he's the one that cursed her, so it ends up breaking it, right? Oh, and he's like that self-affirmation. And so then he calls out, he said there are only 4 people crowned, and among curses there are 16. And this is one of them, which is a special grade potential apparition called Tamamo no Me, which ends up getting destroyed in the end. So I love that the other crew comes in. We get Miwa, we get our old eye boy that uses the blood curse. I love Miwa. Miwa gets to shine. I was just saying in Jujutsu Kaisen how I ship Miwa and Mekamaru, and they both get like a chance. Mekamaru like saves her. It's glorious. I love it. And then Toto showing up, and Toto being like, we got to get done with this because there's a Christmas special on. He's like, and I got to go see it. Never change, Toto. I freaking love you. May's here. It's great. Toto, my dude, best bro. So epic. I wanted Toto to meet Yuuta because I wanted him to ask what his ideal woman was. And so I'm hoping that if we see Yuuta back again in season 2, that Toto gets to meet him and Toto's like, who's your ideal woman? And we get to see his reaction. Obviously, it won't be the right answer because Yuji's the only one that's got the right answer so far, right? And I just love it. I love Toto's like, I got this, guys. It's very important. He's like, it's dangerous. Don't rush on your own. Starting at 8, the talk show's Christmas live special will be hosting Takada-chan. Never change, Toto. Never change. But yeah, and so then we have Yuuta asking Rika one more time, saying, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for falling in love with me. And saying, could you lend me your power one last time? And said, as Geto's like, I'm about to unleash all 4,500 of this cursed spirits inside of me in this maelstrom. Let me power up like Frieza now. And Yuta's like, we ain't gonna let that happen. And he says, I want to stop him. I don't need anything else after that. I'll give you my future, my heart, my body, everything. I love this. And he's like, from now on, we'll truly be together forever. Which makes me believe that even though he's released her from the curse, even though he's technically released her, I feel like she's going to come back to him because she's a part of him now. And he says, I love you, Rika. Shall we die together? Now, he totally kisses her. He kisses that curse. He makes out with Rika, the curse. I ship it. I'm all here for it. I don't care. I like it. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's the weirdest thing. I'm totally shipping this curse with Yuuta. As like her third eye opens up. It's great. And she's like, I love you. And he's like, oh, he's offering himself as a sacrifice to release the limit on her cursed energy. And Geto, like, he just looks so damn good. He looks so scary. And he's like, that's how you want it, womanizer. I'm like, is he a womanizer for only loving one woman? Does that qualify for Yuuta being a womanizer? I guess. If you ship Inumaki with Yuuta, I'm totally on board. If you ship Rika and Yuuta, I'm 1,000 times on board. If you ship Geto and Gojo, I'm with you. What a cursed ship! Boom, literally. But I'm here for it. Yep. Oh my god. And he's like, that's rude. This isn't a womanizing. This is pure love. Oh my god. Yuuta, you could not be more badass in that moment. Could not be more badass. I freaking love it. I love it. It's the idea of fighting for his sense of justice versus Yuta's sense of love. And love triumphs. I freaking love it. So then Geto manages to get away and talks about how if I had Rika, there would be no need to sneak around gathering curses, that she'd be enough. And he says next time, and his arm's been like blown off, next time I'll obtain her. And that's when he sees Gojo. You're late, Satoru. And he's so beautiful there. To think you'd be the one here at my end. He says, is my family safe? And he's like, every last one of them managed to escape, which are all the ones there. The ones in Kyoto were under your orders too, right? Yeah. Unlike you, I'm a kind man. So he says here, so this is curious because Geto suggests that he's kind because he told his family to go away and escape. Whereas he suggests that Gojo is not kind because he sent Inumaki and Panda to the fray knowing that they'd be hurt. He's like, I sent my family to try to save them, sent them away. You sent them right into the fire. So you're cruel and I'm kind. And Gojo's like, well, he's like, you did it so it'd set him off. He's like, I trusted you. Trusted that a man as principled as you wouldn't kill off young sorcerers without a reason. Which, oh my god, it's great. It's a great moment where he it's interesting. It's like there's that relationship between the two of them that I want to know more, but it's like you already know enough that you kind of get a sense of it, but the trust that these two have with each other, the relationship, like this movie builds it up so much. And he's like, trust, huh? And then we see, and then Airi has the glasses that were Gojo's, and we see Gojo and him all together. And then we see them he's putting extra spice in Airi's food. And he's got, and Geto has the Hawaiian shirt on. I didn't think I still had any of that left. Trust. And the two of them laughing side by side. Yeah, that history. And then we cut to them. He says, return this, will you? And just like his eyes and everything. He's like, did you do the elementary school? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I can't believe you. And we just get their mouths. Do you have any last words? No matter what anyone says, I hate those monkeys. But I never held any hatred towards those in the Jujutsu High. I just couldn't wear a heartfelt smile in this world. And we see him lamenting. Meaning that he's like, I just couldn't go along with how the world was right now and what the high school is teaching us. I just couldn't fall through with it because it wasn't up to my ideals of justice. And Gojo says, Suguru. And when he crouches down next to him, and we don't get to hear what he tells him, because of course we don't. We don't get to hear the important word. We don't hear important, possible words of love. They better come back at some point. Akutami better tell us what he said to him. And he laughs, at least hit me with some curses at my end. Yeah, he wasn't cursing him. He said something good to him. And we don't get to see what happens. We just hear the snap, the crack. And that's it. And then he manages to, like, set her free. And then we have this moment where he's like, where we have Geto, he's like, you managed to break the curse. He's like, oh, hey. And they ask who he is. And he's like, you're a good-looking guy, Gojo Satoru-sensei. It's like, because they're not used to seeing him without the bandage on. And they're like, oh, you with your hair down. How are you? And he says, I thought the theory that Yuuta came up with sounded interesting. So he researched into Yuta's family. He's like, Rika's was finished quite some time ago, but then he researched Yuta's family, and it was full of holes. And so then it came to light that you're the descendant of Sugawara Michizane. And then Gojo's just like dancing around like a fool. And they're like, who? And he's like, oh, one of Japan's 3 great apparitions. Like, he's one of the elite. He's a super big shot sorcerer. So you're a descendant of like one of the main clans. And Gojo's like, yeah, you were right, Yuuta. He's like, you placed the curse on Rika, not the other way around. And he's like, so basically, we're just, like, kind of close. We're similar. We're, like, super distant relatives. And poor Yuuta, he thinks it was his fault that it all happened. And then Rika forgives him and says that, like, she had the best years of her life with him after death. It's like, and then she explodes into rainbow bubbles, and it's great. You know. And then we have the ending scene. And so then, yeah, that ending scene where they're in Kenya, because we get the zebras and the giraffes and everything. And he has, like, the powder and all that. And making the food. And it seems like they're all on good terms, so it's like, what the heck? And then Gojo shows up. And it's funny, when Gojo shows up in the white shirt, I almost thought it was Geto at first, because Geto had the white shirt when he ran into the 2 girls. But then, it's Gojo. So yeah, this is a great movie. Lots of questions, lots of things to think about before season 2. I haven't heard any announcements about season 2 yet, so I'm going to keep an eye out for it. But Mappa, y'all outdid yourselves, because I'm going to go back and rewatch this movie now because it was so good. It was so freaking good, and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah. I don't want any spoilers of what's to come. But I am very curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope you all enjoyed this reaction discussion. But I am so ready to go rewatch this movie and get back into Jujutsu Kaisen. And I cannot wait until season 2 comes out. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. And yeah, I'll be back hopefully very soon with more Jujutsu Kaisen. Bye.